What is up, Hulkamaniacs, and welcome to another great edition of Big Boys and Body Slams. We're here on episode 5. I'm one of your hosts, Zach, alongside Luke.
Yo, 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 pop a 40 and check your rollies. It's crime time. I'm sick today, sorry.
And Kyle.
Hi, guys. We got one shirt this week. Our boy Dakota Zankner, bought a friend of the podcast shirt, so you are definitely a friend of the podcast and Brett Screwed Brett, and so we thank you for buying that t-shirt.
Yes, thank you very much. And again, we do have t-shirts up at Store Envy, bigboysbodyslams.storeenvy.com. View our selection. No / Brett Screwed Brett. But we should do a Brett Screwed Brett shirt now in honor of Dakota. What do you got? All in favor say aye?
Aye.
I feel like that is copyrighted.
Probably not. It's going to happen. Again, we are Big Boys and Body Slams. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a little bit of housekeeping to get into before we get into today's episode, which is going to be a good one, I think. We're back to WWE land, so that's fun. First off, again, we do have shirts available at bigboysbodyslams.storeenvy.com. 4 designs up at the moment. They're really cool, right? Are we in agreement on that?
I think they're the best shirts in the world.
V cool. And then we also are on iTunes. If you want to listen to us, we're on SoundCloud. We're also on Google Play, and we are on YouTube. We're going to have a full video version this week. Sorry about the confusion again.
Where's Spotify?
Last week, Spotify's still they're out there somewhere, you know?
Dude, we got to hunt them down. They've been ducking us for too long.
They've been ducked. They're scared.
I'm coming, Spotify.
The Hulkamania is coming for you,
what
Spotify.
you gonna do, Spotify, when Big Boys and Body Slams runs all over you? All right, sorry. Go ahead.
Thanks for that. And then also, we now have a Patreon page up, and there are some really cool perks for contributing. So basically, I guess I'll give a quick rundown. If somebody doesn't know what Patreon is, basically it's a platform where you can contribute monetarily to our podcast every month, and it yields you great rewards, and you get great things for doing it, and in turn we are able to kind of keep the upkeep going on the podcast and provide you with more content in the future. And I believe Luke wants to go over some of these awesome tiers for anybody who feels inclined to open their wallets to us.
Yes, absolutely. So for our Patreon, there is, starting with the $1 a month, you are a cruiserweight. Thank you for your support. You help keep the wheels turning, and you'll get to access the episode, each episode 1 day early. $5 or more per month, you are a light heavyweight. All $5 and up patrons will get their name in pre-roll credits on our YouTube version of the show, as well as access to each episode a day early. See how that stacks? And then if you donate $8 or more per month, you are a heavyweight. How about bonus content? $8 a month will give you an extra Patreon exclusive podcast, Big Boys in the Movies. This will be a monthly recording where we cover a wrestling related movie, and they're usually bad.
I'm excited for that one, guys. We got to get somebody to donate $8 because I'm just dying to watch some wrestling movies. I really want to watch Suburban Commando again, and this is a really good chance for us to watch it. So
is Suburban Commando going to be the first one? Or
it has to be. It has to be.
More than Ready to Rumble?
What about They Live? Does that count?
They Live's awesome.
See, guys, there are so many reasons.
And The Wrestler, just
and
with
if you
Mickey Rourke.
donate, we're definitely going to take your suggestion into consideration.
There are so many reasons to donate at the $8 level, but I think the $15 level is where it's at.
The $15 level, you are a big boy. You rock. In addition to the tiers above, you will get your name /company /username read aloud as a sponsor of the show, as well as all of the other reward tiers. Duh.
Yeah.
Patreon.
Patreon.com/bigboysandbodyslams. It's just patreon.com. And then Big Boys and Body Slams. No spaces or any special characters or anything like that. If you feel so inclined, we would love your support over there. If not, as always, give us a rating on iTunes, give us a rating on Google Play, subscribe to us on all of our platforms so we can keep bringing you great content. We have some YouTube content on the way that's going to be not attached to the podcast, so that's going to be a great way to check that out. You're going to want to be subscribed to that because we got some fun stuff coming up.
We got some good ideas for that. I think we talked about a couple of the ideas, and I think people will really find them kind of fun.
Yeah, I agree. I guess with all that said, I guess we should get into it. What are we doing today?
So we're doing No Mercy 2008. It was a fan request by Colin Vassarino, and Colin and I actually went to this show together. I was in high school at the time, and it was one of the first shows I ever went to. I think the second wrestling show I ever went to behind a Raw, and I think it was a good choice. I think it was fun.
Yeah, this was a very interesting show because I think it was kind of top heavy, which we'll kind of see as we talk about it. But the last 3 matches of the show were super intriguing and were telling really interesting stories, whereas the rest of the show, maybe not so much, but we'll get into it there. And again, just it being a local show and being a show that another one of our hosts was on is awesome now. Going into the show, did you guys have any expectations? I mean, Kyle, obviously you were there, so you kind of had some memory of it. I had never seen it. I believe Luke said you had never seen it either.
No, but I'd seen the one main event, so knowing that match was in there kind of had my expectations up quite a bit.
I kind of thought that the show was better, but I think that's from getting the live perspective. From when you're there, you think it's even better than when you see it on show. When we saw it on TV, I was like, oh, this is kind of bad. Why was I there? And then it starts picking up at the end, and I'm like, oh my god, this is what I remember.
So you remember the last thing you see too. So you remember that main event.
I remember the Undertaker match. I remember the Jeff Hardy match, and I remember the main event.
Right on.
There's a couple of things. I remember the Kane match too, and I remember one of the weird after match promos that we'll get into later that I thought was hilarious. And Zach just
I was not a fan.
Zach just shit all over it,
as he tends to do. He's got.
They
a lot
think
of
I'm
shit.
Meltzer over here, but I mean, I think I'm pretty fair and balanced.
Zach Meltzer over here.
So we do have No Mercy 08 coming from the Rose Garden in Portland, Oregon. It was still the Rose Garden back then.
It was, and if there's any Portland Trailblazer fans watching, there was a Greg Oden jersey sighting.
And a Brandon Roy jersey.
And a Brandon
well,
Roy,
yeah.
but we like Brandon Roy.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, we do.
Yeah.
But you're hating on
friend
Greg
of the
Oden, huh?
friend of the podcast, Brandon Roy.
Is Greg Oden not a friend of the podcast?
No,
How's that his fault that he freaking destroyed his knees?
I'm sorry.
You're ruthless.
Well, this is not an NBA podcast.
I'm turning into the Meltzer over here
This
too.
is he's the Meltzer of the NBA world, apparently. So this is No Mercy. It opens with an interesting video package.
Can I say? The best band in the world. The theme for this one is Metallica's All Nightmare Long from the 2008 album Death Magnetic.
Which I did not realize that record was that old. So when I asked you, is that from Death Magnetic? Like, yeah, definitely.
Heck yeah. No,
Luke
I love
misspoke.
Metallica.
He said best band in the world. Limp Bizkit was not on this show. Sorry.
Yeah. So if you guys were looking for Limp Bizkit or no Juggalo sightings again, so
Please fight
this
me.
is like the 3rd show in a row without Juggalos, and I don't like that. So we have a weird video package to start, which is like this old like 1950s like PSA serial footage, like
Fallout style.
yeah, like intercut with modern day wrestling. I don't really understand what the tie between the two was. It was pretty strange, but I mean, WWE video packages are always somewhat interesting, and this was somewhat interesting.
I mean, some of them are gonna suck. Like, there's
Yeah.
a ton of them that are awesome. Some of them just have to make no sense.
And this wasn't terrible. I don't think it just didn't really make that much sense.
It was
but
just weird. It wasn't bad.
I mean, again, you have the WWE editing team behind you who can give you something good every time. And then after that, we get right into the action. There's, obviously the hype and everyone's cheering and loud, but there's no promo or anything to start. We get right into the action, and the first match of the day is Mark Henry versus Matt Hardy for the ECW championship, and Matt Hardy, of course, is the champion at this time.
And don't forget that in the corner of Mark Henry is WWE Hall of Famer and looking jacked as AF is Tony Atlas.
Yeah,
Mr. Universe.
He comes out in a suit jacket, but once he takes that suit jacket off, you got to let those pythons breathe because he is stacked.
It's like a sleeveless button up with a tie. And my thought during this was, he looks like he ate the Right to Censor version of Bull Buchanan.
I was gonna say that.
He's large and in charge. Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed too about this match right off the top is that Matt Hardy was over. This crowd was hot all night, and this could have easily been a match that they just didn't care about or they were dismissive about because, it was ECW in 2008, which wasn't treated with the most respect by the WWE. But to be fair, the Portland audience, and Kyle, you were there.
I was there.
You guys brought it, and you made this match feel important, especially with Matt Hardy. You guys were so behind Matt Hardy here.
Well, in episode 1, I mean, every episode I show my love for Matt Hardy. I am an MFer, a Matt follower. So
That's what that means?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so I've always been a big Matt Hardy fan, and
I always wondered what that meant when in school and other kids would call me MFer, but I guess now I know it was just
you were just a Matt Hardy fan.
yeah.
Term of endearment.
Unfortunately, I don't think the match lived up to the crowd's reaction to the match.
Well, the weird thing is, too, is that so Matt was super, super over, but you can even tell, we talked about this on a previous episode, that Matt's kind of in like gimmick purgatory. Like, he's still got the V1 music. He's not really coming out to the V1 gimmick anymore. He's kind of like in the mix of the Matt Hardy Won't Die gimmick as well. And I mean, he's super over, but you can tell that there's something missing there.
You can tell he doesn't really want to be there. He's not really in. Like, this is a completely different Matt Hardy than what we saw last week on the TNA pay-per-view.
Yeah.
He didn't have the cool braids in this one, for one, and
New metal Matt.
you can just tell, like, in this match, he just wasn't. There was no passion, and I think a lot of that was just his position in the company and personally maybe what he was going through at the time.
Well, also, we talked about that ECW was kind of a demotion, it seemed like, and they're fighting for the ECW title, and there's not a lot of chemistry between the two.
Yeah, and that was something I noticed right away. So I guess we'll get into the action. I didn't write a ton of notes here besides the fact that Atlas looked real nice. So it started out really slow. Henry's just doing big Hoss offense, a lot of kicks, a lot of punches, a lot of slams, things like that.
Lots of shoves.
Yeah, a lot of shove downs and shoulder tackles. Matt, there was some good booking logic in this match, I thought, where Matt was working over the knees of Mark Henry pretty much the whole match to try and get him off of his feet, because obviously he's not going to power slam him or something like that. And so I thought that was smart. The first near fall comes in the match when Mark Henry gets a big boot once Matt gets back in the ring and took his head off with that. And then he hit him. I called it an ass bomb, but we decided the move was called a bonsai drop.
Yep.
I like ass bomb better. He hits him with an ass bomb for a near fall. And then something that was kind of funny was he went into the other corner to hit him with another one, and he missed it. But Lawler said, man, that would have crushed him like a bug if he hit it. But he had just hit the same move, and
it
didn't crush him like a bug. I thought that was interesting, and by interesting I mean kind of yikes. I mean, really, this match was really slow. The ending sequence, though, like, it picked up for the last 30 seconds of the match, I thought. So Henry countered Twist of Fate, and he hits a splash. He can't cover because his knee's hurting, which leads to a near fall. He goes for the World's Strongest Slam, which gets countered into a Twist of Fate, and Matt gets the pin and wins. What did you guys think of the match?
It was very slow. The ending was fun. Matt Hardy got some great offense in at the end. He didn't really get a lot of offense in during the match.
Yeah,
itself.
Outside of working over the knees and maybe a couple strikes when they were brawling outside.
It was really Matt until the end. I mean, I gave
Mark.
it 2.
You meant Mark?
I meant Mark, yeah. Yeah. But I gave it 2 stars. It was really slow, but it was a good finish.
Yeah, similarly, I thought it was pretty boring up until the very end. I'm going to give it 1.5. I think it was nothing special, but it wasn't anything embarrassing or like it didn't put me to sleep or anything. It wasn't that boring.
Well, the crowd really helped to get it going. I ended up giving it a 1.5. I got a couple notes on that, though. We've talked about it. WWE ECW just is the stepchild, and what does that say about what the company thinks of that brand when their title match is literally the opener and a slow one with not a lot of allotted time at that?
It reminds me a lot of the way they're treating the cruiserweights in 205 Live right now as well, whereas their matches have mostly been relegated to the pre-show match. And it's interesting because I think they book shows different now, where I think had 205 Live and had been its own brand in this show, that would have been a much better opening match than this, because you usually want to open your show with like a fun, fast-paced match. This was kind of the opposite of that, but I guess maybe they had a different idea for the pre-show match.
Well, in this era of Mark Henry, yes, Hall of Famer, all respect to Mark Henry, but it reminded me why around this time, and like the Friday Night SmackDown era, I just didn't really like watching matches of him, because he was the giant, and just didn't have. He had a very limited moveset, and I mean, I just prefer sexual chocolate, Mark Henry.
Okay, but serious question. Ready?
Yeah.
Matt or Jeff?
I think we're all three of us are Matt on that.
Yeah,
which is crazy because like that goes against the norm, right? Where Jeff has been historically been this like super over babyface the majority of his career, but I don't know. I've always kind of thought Matt.
To me, Jeff's just always been one dimensional.
Yeah, I think Matt has like portrayed such more interesting characters to me, and I think wrestling wise, I mean, you can kind of interchange one or the other, but I think just the character of Matt Hardy has always been something that's drawn me to him more, just personally.
I agree, and you know what? After tonight's show, maybe I'll ask the fans what they think. You know?
Yeah, we'll have to throw up a poll on Facebook.
Do you like
and
Matt?
Twitter.
Do you like Jeff, and why? You know?
I mean, some of the greatest like hardcore WWE moments and even TNA moments have come from Jeff Hardy for sure. I just think that's he's the spot guy, and there's not much more to him. His promos are bad.
I almost feel that Jeff is overrated and Matt is underrated.
Oh yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Because I feel like Matt has done a lot. Matt never, got drunk and had to have a 2-minute match. Matt saved that company from dying.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So when Jeff kind of started the tailspin of TNA, Matt kind of boosted it up, gave it.
But I do think that in this era of, because everyone's a smart mark now, absolutely everybody, I think that with Broken and Woken Matt, it's really brought him back to the forefront, and now people are looking at the big picture of his career like, wow. No, he really was. Yeah. He really did have way more layers to him. So, I mean, yes, I will say Jeff Hardy overrated versus Matt underrated, but in this day and age now, I think the script is starting to be flipped.
For sure. Speaking of Jeff, he was in the next segment. And that was a backstage interview. So first they kind of, I guess this is important to mention, but first they kept cutting back the whole show to where it was this fan poll where you could text in whether you wanted Jeff Hardy or Triple H to win the match tonight. I think it was kind of obvious who was going to win, but we'll find that out later. And so they cut to, which is something you don't see very often, a backstage interview between, which, I mean, you see those all the time, but a backstage interview between the two competitors who were in the title match. I thought that was really interesting, and I didn't realize until after this interview started that, oh man, we're dealing with babyface Triple H here. He just seems so unnatural as like a babyface to me.
Well, and I don't know if this was like it must have been post like DX reunion.
I think the DX reunion was around 06, 07, so this was
like
probably at the tail end of that.
He was still riding the wave and kind of just like the goofy smartass / still tough guy. So kind of just in the middle.
Yeah, it was just kind of an awkward segment backstage.
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, I guess basically Triple H says he's a fan of Jeff Hardy. He's actually voting for him in the poll. He has his iPhone out and says that he thinks Jeff Hardy has everything that it takes, but he wants to see him put it all together. And that was kind of the gist of the promo.
I kind of feel it's a shoot. Because, when the Hardy Boys broke up, people compared Jeff to Shawn Michaels. And they had a huge expectation for Jeff Hardy. And yes, he did win the belts, the heavyweight belt and stuff, but it was kind of underwhelming with all those shoes to fill.
Yeah, I agree. But I think the interview was fine. Do you guys have anything else to add to it?
Did we mention, I personally, Jeff Hardy sucks at promos, man.
Yeah, his delivery is just like so I made a joke during the
disingenuous.
I made a joke during the interview, but like I kind of maybe think it was true that he was like reading cue cards or a teleprompter like just off camera.
Looking over his shoulder.
Yeah.
I will say they were promoting this heavily at the show too, because before the show they sent Joey Styles out into the lines outside the Moda Center or the Rose Garden, and he was just asking random fans, are you Jeff Hardy or are you Triple H? I actually got on a video on WWE.com because I poked my head in front of the camera and was on there for a split second, which was like my claim to fame before this podcast.
I'm going to dig that video up if it's still on the .com. I'm going to find it. And I'm going to share it on our Facebook.
But so they were really promoting that hard the whole show. I remember that.
That's awesome. So yeah, after that we get a women's championship match. We have Beth Phoenix, who's the champion, versus who I like to call the bargain basement Kelly Kelly, and that is Candice Michelle. And this is for the WWE Women's Championship.
Did you say Beth Phoenix with Santino?
Yeah, by the way, Beth Phoenix is escorted to the ring by Santino Marella, and the whole storyline there is like she does not want him to come to the ring with her because she thinks he'll screw up the match, which he kind of almost does, but... So there was a bit of a story, I guess, being told.
Collectively, they're Glamorella.
Yeah, Glamorella. Yeah, sure.
Santino was Ellsworth back then, but with more wrestling skills.
More, yeah.
Except he's not as cool as Ellsworth.
I feel like...
He's got a better jaw structure.
I feel like...
Ellsworth's like the GOAT, dude, of jobbers. Ellsworth's the man.
So here's an interesting Ellsworth question I'll pose to you guys. So Santino Marella famously won the women's over the top battle royal at whatever WrestleMania, like 20. It was in the late 20s.
The match I want to forget, yeah.
Had that been Ellsworth today, I think fans would have gotten over. If Ellsworth, not dressed in drag or anything.
No, that did not get over because remember he won the women's Money in the Bank ladder match and people were pissed.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
But that was actually a good match that deserved to not have that crap ending.
Right, but people were still pissed that Ellsworth
a gimmick
got
battle
it.
royal.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Anyways, back to the match at hand here. I knew this was not going to be a good match the second I saw Candice Michelle come out. And I'm like, maybe that's like a slight to Candice Michelle, but...
We literally asked who that was at first.
Her music started, I'm like, who's that? And she came out, and I'm like, who's that? And then I saw her name card, and I was like, oh, boy.
We're in for it.
And my spidey senses were correct. This was not much of a match. I had opened up, and I will give Candice Michelle credit because she was flying at the start of this match. She was getting a lot of strikes in, trying to keep Beth Phoenix grounded. And then she hits this like weird, like half scissor kick, half famous her. I think it was supposed to be a famous her, but it played off more as a scissor kick for a near fall. I mean, Candice Michelle's selling in this match was so bad.
She was screaming the whole match.
She was like yelping and spinning. It was like a cartoon character selling, and just like it makes Beth Phoenix like. It really shows you how many leagues ahead of probably the entire women's division she was at that time. Just seeing her, if this was the number one contender for the title, who else was on that roster?
Well, that's the thing, is it's a huge reminder of how much Beth was carrying them at this time. And you could tell when they laid out this match, they're like, Beth, we know you'll be fine. Candice, get as much offense in as possible to make yourself look legitimate whatsoever.
Yeah, for sure. There was a really nice armbar spot where Beth had the armbar on Candice for quite a long time, and then Beth went to the top. Candice crotched her on the top rope, put her in the Tree of Woe, kind of hit a basement drop kick on her in the Tree of Woe position. It wasn't anything to write home about.
Every drop kick she fired off, she would like sprint and then stop short a few steps and then just like do a little bounce, and the softest drop kick you've ever seen in your life. Multiple times.
Yeah, I'm just going to skip to the finish now because really nothing really happened. Beth Phoenix gets pulled out of the ring by Santino Marella after it was a drop kick for a near fall. Santino thinks he saved the match. He's doing a lot of clapping. Beth gets back in the ring. She hits her finisher, goes for which is called the what?
The Glam Slam.
The Glam Slam, which is a pretty interesting maneuver. She goes for the pinfall. Santino kind of gets stuck on the ropes, but he like is able to break free in time, and Beth gets the win. And that was that. They were kind of teasing an angle that like Santino was about to cost the match. It didn't really play off that way to me on camera.
Well, they Santino accidentally like grabbed her shoe as she was trying to get back in the ring, and then she turned around and was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And then she got rolled up and almost a 3 count. I think is how that happened. It didn't
play off super well on camera, and at any rate, Beth Phoenix won. It was not a good match. I'm gonna give it 1 star.
I gave it 1.5. I mean, I've seen worse, but not much.
This was nowhere. I should say this was nowhere near like
Major Guns versus
the Major Guns versus Stacy Keibler mud wrestling match in New Blood Rising
/ abortion /
miscarriage angle. But
yeah.
this still. I mean, every time we watch some of these older women's matches, it just reminds me like how far have we come.
Candice is nothing more than Diva Search eye candy.
Yep.
She doesn't have much.
And to Beth's credit, she is a legitimate.
Oh yeah, I was
wrestler.
going to say Beth is one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and yeah, that's kind of what I put down was that Candice, you can tell in this little, in her entrance that she is just an exhibitionist, not as much as like straight up Kelly stripper, but like she's definitely meant to be like, look at these bosom shots, but yet she's supposed to be considered legitimate for number 1 contendership.
I felt like the match was more to progress the story of Beth and Santino than to actually have a match.
You're exactly right. I gave it 1.5 star, but now I actually kind of feel bad because I gave the previous match 1.5 star and it was better. So 1.25, 1.25.
You don't have to explain your rating system to people, man. Just do what you do. You know.
Sorry, guys.
Dude.
Sorry.
After that, Mayor Kane cut a promo.
Dark promo.
He buried Rey Mysterio in some boiler room. Not literally buried him, but like cut a promo on Rey, saying he was going to beat him, and it was very Bray Wyatt-esque.
He basically said that Rey Mysterio is a coward who hides behind a mask, just like all the fans.
Yep.
So that was kind of
just like him for multiple years.
Right.
But whatever.
But yeah, he was basically saying all the fans are cowards that hide behind a fake persona, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It was fine. I've never really been too into like that dreamy, spooky, cerebral promo style. Like I didn't like it then. I don't really like it when Bray kind of veered into that territory towards the latter half of like the Wyatt family thing. It's just hard to like keep track of like, what are you saying? This one was more clear than some, but again, I mean, it's cool to see Kane. I
feel like at any moment he was just gonna break away and be like, and now in theaters this Friday, See No Evil 2, check it out.
Did they make a See No Evil 2?
Yeah.
You can see that on Big Boys in the Movies for $8 a month on patreon.com/Big Boys.
We're gonna watch it reverse order.
Yes. No. We're going to watch the second one first.
No.
After that, we had the Rey versus Kane match. So a nice little promo that led right into the match. I really, really, really like Rey's first WWE theme so much better than this one. I just have to say that off the top.
Who's that jumping out the sky?
I think it's the second time we've sang the song.
Yeah, because Booyaka Booyaka never got me pumped like Who's That Jumping Out the Sky.
I feel like go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I feel like the Booyaka Booyaka was more ethnically sound. Like it appealed more like whatever. I'm just gonna sound terrible, but it appealed more to the Hispanic side of Rey Mysterio, whereas the Who's That like that was a lot more hip hop ish and like I don't know, it appealed It appealed to me more.
I know. I
suppose.
kind of understand what you're saying. I know where you're coming from. I know where you're coming from. I got you, dog. I got
Also,
you.
this version of Kane's music sucked.
It really did. It
It's-
was just like funeral organ music.
That's literally all it is. When there was nothing wrong with it before, and it was badass before.
It is nice to see all the pyro, though.
And even the like the Finger 11,
I just think Kane's the unsung hero of WWE.
the Elder Statesman.
Like he's always there to either put someone over or take a big spot when they need it because they don't have anybody else, and he's been doing it for years.
Yeah, I think his career has spanned so many years. It's just I have so much respect for everything Mayor Kane has done for WWE and everything he's going to do for Knox County.
I think
Ooh,
he
yeah.
just
He's intelligent.
Yeah.
and for a big guy, he was never bad at wrestling.
No,
he was always a
he
very
was- yeah.
like above average wrestler. He was never a Kurt Angle, of course, or an Undertaker, but he was really good.
And even if I did prefer Isaac Yankem, I guess Kane was an okay character too.
No, I think that Kane is a step below Undertaker in that he's just not. I mean, Undertaker at times is like a cruiserweight in a 6'11" body.
Well, I think Undertaker was able to like transcend the world of professional
Yes,
wrestling too.
yes.
Which Kane like very much stayed within that like box of if you like professional wrestling, you'll know who Kane is. Whereas guys like the Undertaker,
Everyone knows
You
who
could
he is,
ask
yeah.
anybody on the street, do you know who the Undertaker is? And more than 50% of them will be like, oh yeah, he's a wrestler.
Absolutely. But I will say, I mean, although I do prefer Masked Kane just because he was just such a badass, I think that over time, this bald, burning people alive Kane got a little stale with just how brooding he was. But when you go back now, that you're not seeing it every single week. It's good. Like
Yeah, it's very effective. A lot of the stuff he
it is
did.
like kind of the precursor to Bray Wyatt.
Can I make an unpopular opinion here?
Yes.
Oh boy,
I enjoyed Corporate Kane.
for what it was, or
Like I thought it was kind of fun.
It made me. I mean, he made me. The character of Corporate Kane made me laugh a lot, and I think that counts for something.
oh yeah,
And
I don't think it was a bastardization of Glenn Jacobs or the character of
No,
Kane, like some people think it was. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great for the Seth Rollins angle and all that stuff.
And,
I thought
and
it was good.
and it's always great to see a man wrestle in slacks. Can we all agree on that?
Except for Baron Corbin.
Except for Constable Corbin.
Well, and if you feel like Corporate Kane was an affront to his whole gimmick, I want to hear your American Badass take, because it's got to be brutal.
Yeah, for sure. Should we get into this match?
Do it.
Kane versus Rey Mysterio come out. So right when this match starts, Rey gets in the ring and Kane just beheads him with the big boot. Just a classic big man, big boot to a little man. A lot of little man, big man action in this show. I noticed, and this
Davey
was
and
like,
Goliath.
this was like definitely like the littlest versus not the biggest, but
Also, just a lot of big men in general because
Yeah, for sure.
you had Big Show and Undertaker, and you had
Mark Henry.
Mark Henry, and then you had Kane, and then
Yeah.
Batista and JBL.
Yeah,
So
there's
a lot of big guys.
big hoss fighting on this show. Again, Ray can work with anybody, and I think the little man, big man thing with Ray was maybe a little bit overused at this point.
by far.
But for everything this match was, I thought it was okay. Ray's getting some kicks in again, trying to just wear the big man down. He hits a springboard drop kick, which was really nice. He goes for a 619. It gets countered into this huge clothesline. Ray just starts getting bruised and beaten. Kane was really taking a lot of this match. Ray gets sent outside. He puts Kane in a sleeper outside, and then Kane just throws him over the barricade. Just throws a man like a sack of potatoes over the barricade.
He ragdolled him a few times.
He was
Yeah.
ragdolling him out there. And then they get back inside. There's a scoop slam for a near fall. There's a nice backbreaker, I thought, by Kane, which he did the backbreaker, but then he like turned it into like a stretch muffler submission kind of. It was really interesting. Kane's got a good backbreaker. I mean, I don't know.
Nice sidewalk
He
slam.
did a sidewalk slam later
Yeah.
in this match too, and he's got a great sidewalk slam.
He had but like he really has some signature moves that are great. Like the throat thrust is awesome. The clothesline from the top rope is impressive.
Yeah.
He's really got some go-tos. I mean, he doesn't have like Taker who can do a whole match of going through the motions, but he's got some awesome signatures.
Yeah. There was a nice spot when Kane went for a choke slam, but Ray countered it into like a springboard kind of DDT. He kind of botched it a little bit, but it was kind of like a half DDT, which is what Michael Cole called it, which I like that. And then he gets Kane to the outside apron, and he just 619s Kane right in the ass. It was awesome.
Ton of damage.
That's a lot of damage. And so Kane gets sent back outside. So Kane's recovering outside. Ray goes on top. He springboards off the top rope and he goes for, I guess, a splash or a crossbody. And Kane grabs a chair and just
thwaps him.
Just hits him in the face with his chair for the DQ. So Ray wins the match, but Kane ends up looking like the monster in the end. I mean, and they're also doing. I mean, this match was okay for what it was. They're also doing. There was like kind of a little detail in this match that really bugged me, where obviously, you know, Kane's doing the whole "you hide behind your mask" thing, and he's trying to unmask Ray throughout the duration of this match. Which with Ray, it's like, okay, everybody knows what Ray looks like without his mask. If you follow wrestling, he's wrestled without his mask a lot.
Go back to the New Blood Rising.
Yeah, you'll see him without his mask there,
and you'll see with devil horns.
Yeah, that's true. Other than that,
forgot about those.
I thought this match was pretty decent. I gave it 2.5 stars. It wasn't bad. It wasn't the best match I've ever seen. It was right in the middle.
I gave it 2 3/4. I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was fun. I thought it was clunky at times, slow at times. But I mean, I think it was actually a really good big versus little match.
Even though it's overused, I don't think. I mean, does anyone do David versus Goliath better than Ray?
Daniel Bryan?
Yeah, that's a good point. But Rey Mysterio really, with how much agility and plancha he uses, does really well to use those high impact moves to chop down the big men. I gave it 2.5 stars, and I mean, there's a lot of false finishes that are just BS, but this is like pissed off, deranged Kane, and so if he's not getting his way in a match, it's totally understandable for him to just go off the handle and just thwap Ray in the face.
I usually don't like DQ finishes, but I thought you're right. This is a good one.
I thought this was a good. It made sense. It was appropriate for, and you don't want to have Ray lose. You don't want to have, you know, it was a good way to get around having to have either man lose clean. And I think it kind of enhanced the character of Kane, and it made sense within the story of the match. Kane was on the ropes, and he did what he had to do.
I thought it made Kane look more deranged than he already was.
There was kind of a non-finish later in the show that I had a huge, and I know Luke had a really big problem with it too. But we'll get to that.
Let's just save it.
That was a decent match. So backstage, MVP is looking for Vicky because he's mad that he wasn't on the card. He knocks on Vicky Guerrero's door. Out comes the Big Show. Big Show says, "Man, I'm just trying to worry about the Undertaker, but if you keep bugging me, I'm gonna worry about you."
He's worrying about some other stuff too.
I don't know what Big Show's doing in Vicky's office.
Bro, he's laying pipe, and you know it.
There's going to be a bunch of Big Show and Vicky Juniors running around. Is that what you're saying?
Please don't. I mean, no. Don't take it that far.
So I thought that was going to be the end of that segment. It was not, because here comes MVP out to the ring. And I was intrigued. You know, MVP he's a good talker. I'd listen to MVP. I'd like to listen to MVP on the mic. But this went so nowhere.
It went on way too long.
So he comes out and he's basically saying that he came here to make a statement, says he wants to be on the card, that Vicky doesn't respect him, he deserves to be wrestling at every show. And then here comes Randy Orton. They pretty much just don't like each other. They're drawn back and forth for a while. And then here comes Ted DiBiase Jr. and Cody Rhodes.
And Manu.
And they're talking trash. I mean, at this point, I thought this had already gone on for too long. And it just kept going. They're all arguing in the ring.
Someone hands Ted DiBiase the
Somebody
damn mic.
hands Ted DiBiase Jr. a microphone, which is just, don't do that. He just pretty much reiterated that my dad is Ted DiBiase.
Dad.
He says it like 3 or 4 times in like a 2-minute span. Like, do you know who my dad is? My dad's Ted DiBiase. I'm a millionaire.
That
do you know
means I got money.
Well, and also don't forget Orton leaves, doesn't he?
Orton leaves after that.
And then Legacy and MVP have an issue. And then they basically are like, you better get out of this ring before we make you get out of this ring. And MVP gets out. And
he's like, fine.
He gets almost all the way up the entrance ramp. And then CM Punk's music hits.
And Punk and Kofi come out.
And then they're like, you want to go beat these guys up? We're not going to take that line down. So they all 3 of the men run back to the ring. Right as MVP slides into the ring, Kofi and Punk lay off. But then they get back in the ring anyways. All 6 men brawl. And finally the segment ends.
So I think my biggest takeaway is, why is CM Punk not on this card?
People were so hungry for CM Punk.
Like,
huge pop.
Punk should have been wrestling on this card. If you just did like Punk and Kofi versus Cody Rhodes and DiBiase, because I believe they had the tag belts at this show.
They did, yeah.
So why not do a tag team title match instead of this stupid?
I could be wrong, but there was no tag team match on this show.
You're right.
There was no multi-man match at all. Every match was one-on-one.
Yeah.
You don't see that very often. I feel like
you don't.
Especially in that era of pay-per-views. Can I say though?
Yeah.
Kofi and CM Punk did appear, and then they're trying to convince MVP, hey, MVP, let's go fight them and clean house. And then they all run to the ring. MVP dives in, and then they just leave him to get his ass kicked.
That was like the highlight of the promo.
Just get his ass kicked for a little bit, and then they help clean house. Also, Jamaican Sean Kingston, Kofi Kingston, loved him.
I feel like that that one spot was the bright point. Otherwise, this went on forever. This was like a 10 or 15-minute segment.
Yeah.
It just drug on. Thankfully, it ended, and then we got one shot of Y2J and HBK backstage getting
I
ready
want to
for the
have
match.
this argument right now.
Oh, yeah.
What was your unpopular opinion regarding CM Punk? Okay, so you
I
said,
remember it.
So
What
yeah,
was
Kyle
mine?
freaking remembers.
I remember you said that this theme song he used here was better than Cult of
Oh, yeah.
Personality.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked it better. Stop it. Be nice to me.
Dude,
It had chugs. I could mosh to it, you know?
Cult of Personality is like a top 10 song.
I mean, it's a great song. I just like the more hardcore style. It fits. I thought it fit his personality.
I mean,
better.
you could be wrong, but just admit it.
Yeah, you're entitled to your wrong opinion.
You guys made fun of me for liking Matt Morgan. I'm making
That's
fun of
fair.
you for
That's
liking
fair.
this show.
That's
the
fair.
song.
Whoa, I was like, the show wasn't that bad. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, everybody. Sorry to let everyone down. And that was that.
Living Color's pissed too.
Next, you're gonna say you thought CM Punk was overrated, like the Young Bucks.
No, I think Punk's great. I wish he'd come back to wrestling. Any wrestling, anywhere. Punk, just wrestle. Please stop fighting in the UFC, please.
Punk, I love you.
Friend of the podcast.
You do what you want to do, CM.
Chick magnet.
Sorry about your Bears, though. My Packers smashed them.
Please don't call him by CM.
Please refer to him as Chick magnet next time.
Or Charles Manson.
Yeah. Next up, we get JBL versus Batista for the number one contendership. I was really pleased to see JBL on the show until he took off his jacket.
Man, JBL let himself go.
He's floppy.
So when he
in
left the
this match.
APA to become JBL, he was always kind of floppy and kind of big. Oh, he took it to a new level here.
He's not necessarily like
Well, no, he's not. Yeah,
fat or chunky. He's just floppy.
he's just dad bod a little
He's
bit.
just dad bod. Yeah, at this point.
Wrestler version of
He's
dad bod.
more wrestler dad bod than he's ever been.
He's not like the way he doesn't look like Cassius Ohno looks now or anything, or like Trent Seven, but he's a bit floppy and flabby at this point.
I definitely did get the PTSD though of heel JBL. And I just got like
my blood started boiling.
I suddenly got angry for a second.
I love
my
JBL.
fists. I clenched my fists.
I was glad to see him on the show, and again, this was against Batista for the number one contendership. Batista didn't have much heat, positive or negative, on him. I didn't think in this match.
Really, the crowd was kind of dead for this whole match.
Yeah, kind of.
It was like the low point for
There
the
was
crowd.
heat on JBL for sure, but Batista kind of was just a muted reaction. And wasn't this kind of nearing the end of his first run with the company?
Yeah, I think it was getting towards it at least.
Yeah, which makes sense. So this was another big Haas fight. Right off the bat, Batista hits a spear on JBL, who then rolls out of the ring, which of course that's the kind of the beginning of Batista's wind up. The idea was he's going to get the spine buster, then the Batista bomb, and end this thing early. That doesn't happen. JBL uses his smart heel tactics, and he rolls out of the ring. The crowd did hate that a lot, which was pretty awesome. JBL kind of just stands outside the ring for a bit, and then they brawl outside. There's a rest hold spot outside the ring, which is good. You don't see that too often. And then they come in the ring and they rest hold some more, which gets counted into a power slam by Batista. Batista hits the spine buster, the Batista bomb, and wins the match. The best thing about this match was that it was very short.
It was the perfect length.
Yeah.
I gave the match a 2-star because it was kind of slow, but it went the perfect length of time.
Yeah, it was slow. It was a bit sloppy. There was really nothing.
If it went longer than what it did, it would not be very good.
This is like the least amount of notes I've written for a non-squash match since we've been doing the podcast. And it's just because there wasn't much that happened in the match. And the finish happened. Batista went over rightfully. And I give it 2 stars as well. I think the post-match actually was like the shining spot for this.
I'm going to handle the post-match.
Okay, great.
Hold on, real quick. Rating. 2 stars. I kind of feel bad for these two just because they followed that god-awful segment that people were chanting boring through. So they kind of got some remnants of the boring chant. Yes, it was slow, but it did what it needed to do. Put Batista over.
So what happened after the match, Kyle?
So JBL picks up the mic and basically says, thank God for the rich people and the government bailout for helping the rich people.
Thank you, people, for keeping me rich, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Which I loved. One thing I loved about the beginning of this promo was that he was like still selling the Batista bomb as he's talking into the microphone. You don't see guys do that very
I've
often.
had an awful week.
Yeah, I just really appreciated that because this was right after like the big stock market crash of 2008.
So JBL is going on and on about how rich he is and how everybody else kind of sucks. And then we hear the music.
Yo, 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 yo. It's crime time. Brooklyn.
And Crime Time's in the back, and they're basically saying they're going to take JBL's limo for a joyride. And then, so they get on top of JBL's limo, and then they wave for all the divas to come over. So the divas come, and they start dancing with Crime Time. They get in the limo, And then our boy Sergeant Slaughter, friend of the podcast,
Just sneaks his way
just
in.
randomly sneaks in and gets in the.
And JTG's pissed, but Shad's like, yeah, sure.
So Crime Time and Slaughter are about to go have a giant orgy with all the divas, and it's just great.
It's all the it's all like the OVW girls, because you have like Mickey James is there. I think Gail Kim was there.
Yeah.
Didn't you say there was a Bella there, Kyle?
Yeah,
there
one of
was
the
a
Bellas
Bella.
were on there.
So I thought it was all good. I thought it went on a little bit too long. I thought the stuff with Crime Time and the limousine started off really strong. As I was watching it live, I was like, oh, this is so stupid. But the more I think about it, I'm like, I guess it was kind of funny. Like,
It was
having Sergeant Slaughter
hilarious.
show up out of nowhere.
Freaking love Crime Time. I know you feel me on that.
I know.
fact-
I love Crime Time.
I was never necessarily a fan, but I will. That was kind of what?
You got me on this? Money.
Money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We got money.
Yeah.
Zach, stop hating.
You were playing like the Mickey James role there, because at the very end, Mickey James came out of the sunroof of the limo with Crime Time, and they were like doing a chant with her, and it was like, yeah,
the
that's-
money, yeah, chant. It was great.
That's Mickey James.
This was awesome.
Yeah,
It was
loved
fun. It was fun.
Comedic relief, perfectly placed in time.
Yeah, after like that last segment, like to have a okay match and then have like the JBL like putting himself over and then having that was a good kind of. I thought it flowed pretty well. And then we get a video package up next for the Big Show and the Undertaker. And guess what? Hoss fight alert. This is a match that Luke and I have a very large problem with, which we'll get to at the end. This was a 2008 Big Show match. The Undertaker did what he could throughout, and they had some pretty interesting spots. So there's some strike exchanges to start. Then they go outside and they do the big Hoss brawling outside. Taker hits an apron leg drop, which just whenever you do that to a large man, it just looks devastating.
Oh, yeah.
He hits corner splashes on the Big Show. He got a lot of the early offense, I feel like, on the Big Show in this match.
A lot of times it seems like Taker starts things out, and they always go back to especially if Cole's announcing, the best pure striker in the game. And yeah, he gets a lot of strikes.
Yep.
He goes through a lot of signatures.
Yep. And then the Big Show does manage to get a Russian leg sweep for a near fall. Big Show goes for a Vader bomb but misses. Taker hits a flying lariat. Then he hits an old school. There's kind of the greatest hits. Gets a near fall off of that. Both men tease the choke slam. Oh, I guess I should mention Big Show does get a choke slam for a near fall.
A showstopper.
A showstopper. And then both men are teasing their choke slams. They're both choking each other. Big Show goes for a choke slam. Undertaker counters into a DDT. Man, seeing Big Show get DDT'd like that, his body was flipping.
He got spiked.
That was awesome.
It looked brutal.
It did.
Yeah.
And then the end of the match happened, which was Big Show hits his big knockout punch once. Undertaker goes down. Undertaker gets up. He hits him again. Undertaker goes down. Hits him on the ground.
Well, and he was out cold after the second one.
Yeah, hits him on the ground after the second one because he's not getting up.
He like picks him up and like punches his face into the
Yeah.
mat, which was pretty brutal. But
We get a KO finish. The Big Show... I can't believe I'm saying this. The Big Show knocks out The Undertaker for the win. I hated the end of this match. Hated it.
He did hit him 3 times though.
But it's just a punch. At the end of the day,
It's a knockout punch, a weapon of mass
it's a
destruction.
WMD.
but it's The Undertaker.
It is
I know
BS.
it's really lame.
It is BS, I agree, but one thing, I mean, I especially now appreciate this Undertaker now that I see, what he's like nowadays. I mean, so back then I really loved 2008 Undertaker, 2006, all that, but they ran out of people to match him up with, so they had to keep matching him up with like Great Khali and Big Show and just huge guys, and there's no legitimacy if they don't get at least like a pay-per-view win, and at least he's not pinning him clean. He's just beating the crap out of him.
I'd rather have him get pinned clean than get knocked out like a chump.
I think they were just really trying to sell the WMD.
And then you also got to remember, around this time, they started trying to do like an MMA type Undertaker with the Hell's Gate and all that stuff.
Sure.
So, I mean, it kind of makes sense in a way that Big Show just knocks him out with 3 like big boy punches.
Which usually one does the trick for everyone else.
So, like in an MMA fight, one of those punches is going to knock someone out probably. So, I mean, I think that's kind of what they were trying to do. I mean, I get that it's lame. And it's not my favorite finish ever, but I understand where they're going.
And after the fact, he did sell it really well, and he looked about
He
as
looked dazed.
He looked about as loopy as Aaron Rodgers did this past Sunday.
Aaron Rodgers!
I give the match
Nice,
1.5. There was a couple decent spots, but it was more just big Hoss action, and the finish just really bugged me.
I gave it 2 stars. I thought the match was fine. I didn't hate the ending as much as these guys did. I think it made sense, but I mean, I wasn't a fan of it, but I didn't hate it either. It was just kind of whatever.
Yeah, I'm also I gave it 2 stars. I don't hate the finish that much. The next match, I can go on a rant about. My one comment here is around this time, I don't know if it's a spray tan, but Taker was tanning a lot, and he was pretty orange. And I just got to say, I love Undertaker's my favorite wrestler of all time, right next to Stone Cold. But having an orange tan makes no damn sense. You're supposed to be dead.
He's just showing his support for President of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
And moving on.
And we had a video package hyping up Jeff Hardy versus Triple H for the WWE Championship, the spinner title. I don't mean to sound like a negative Nancy, because I know I'm just like putting a lot of things down on the show that you guys necessarily didn't dislike. I just hate the spinner title.
Zach Keller.
I did not mind the spinner belt at all. I thought it was
like
cool.
I didn't like it in 2006. I don't like it now.
I think it lasted way too long, but it was an awesome idea, and also the United
thought it was
States.
awesome.
The United States John Cena spinner belt was also awesome.
I like that better. I just think like gimmicking your titles at all just like delegitimizes them, and like this is supposed to be the most. Hear me out. This is supposed to be the most prestigious title in the history of wrestling ever, and it's a freaking cheap Walmart looking spinner with the WWE logo. That doesn't scream prestige to me.
I look at it like what's a little bit of bling on a very nice item. You know, like spin.
See, I never thought of it as like plastic, and I feel like if you actually saw the belt itself in person, like it would be like, holy crap.
Yeah,
Oh,
I thought it was super cool. I always liked the
Yeah,
spinner,
I
and
did too.
I usually don't like the
gimmick belts.
gimmick belts, but I really like that one.
See, I personally love the Smoke and Skull belt's one of my favorite of all time. Sorry.
So we do get a video package between this, and of course Triple H is the current champion. This is for the WWE Championship. So they shake hands in the middle of the ring to start. Once Jeff Hardy turns around to throw his shirt into the audience, Triple H nails him. Just classic Triple H move, which I guess maybe he's kind of a tweener, because that's not something like a white bread babyface would do. He was kind of playing both roles a little bit, which is fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It was a good tactic to use. You know, the match started, the bell rang.
Basically, he joined Evolution, and then he always had Ric Flair tactics. Like, he never abandoned those. Dirtiest play in the game.
That's true. So we get a little bit of chain wrestling to start. Jeff Hardy hits a head scissors to Triple H and knocks him down, which Jim Ross just puts over as like the most innovative offense of all time. Which like it's just the head scissors, JR.
Yeah, no, he couldn't just be like. He literally acted like he just watched Memphis wrestling his whole life and had never seen a lucha match. He said the entirety of his existence.
He said the same thing for the plancha leg drop too. Later in the match.
Amazed.
I think both Jim Ross and Taz are on their way out here too. I think they're just kind of getting lazy in their announcing, and
just like Lawler.
But Lawler stayed on for a lot longer than this.
Lawler's still with the company.
Yeah, Lawler left like regular announcing like what 2012, 2013. That's at
it
least
was like
another
13.
4 or 5 years.
But to me,
after
once
this.
he started wearing blingy T-shirts is when he just stopped caring.
Once he stopped wearing
that was
his jacket to the ring.
Yeah, I know that was a long time that he was the extended period, but he just said generic things.
I think they took away a lot of his freedom.
Yeah, a lot of his heel commentary.
So yeah, he hits the head scissors to Triple H and then gets him outside of the ring. Jeff does dives off the apron into Triple H. I think Jeff kind of ate the majority of the move, which they kind of put over on commentary, but they're like, see, he got him with his hand. He hooked him with the hand. So they're outside. Triple H gets him back in the ring, tries for a middle rope pedigree.
That was pretty cool.
Which was pretty cool because like, I've never seen them try for that before. But he gets thrown back over the top rope, back to the outside. And then Jeff Hardy goes for a plancha senton, misses, lands right on his back on the outside, which just opens the door for Triple H, who sends him back into the ring and just starts wailing on Jeff Hardy's back. Knowing like the shape Jeff Hardy's in now, it's like, oh, stop taking these back bumps, Jeff. That looked nasty.
Oh, that was rough.
I don't know how he just isn't snapped in half.
I mean,
he takes so many back bumps.
I mean, look at the one at SummerSlam a couple weeks ago when he did the swanton onto just the apron.
Yes, dude.
At SummerSlam, that was gnarly.
Literally going into that match, we heard all about how his back was giving him troubles, and then he takes that bump.
And I think one of the quotes I heard was he doesn't do swantons at house shows
Yeah, he only
anymore.
saves them for big moments. Like doing it onto the apron. Hardest part of the ring, Michael Cole will tell you.
Yeah, it was brutal. This is another crazy one.
Yeah, that was a crazy bump. I'm worried about what he's going to do this Sunday at Hell in a Cell, which you can catch our review on Monday morning. Is going to go up. That's our next episode, is WWE Hell in a Cell. I'm nervous to see what Jeff does because he's always wanted that one-on-one cell match.
Just so you know, we're going to put the Hell in a Cell episode up a little bit earlier than normal.
It's going to go up on Monday just because if we waited till Wednesday, I mean, everyone else's review is going
You
to come out.
probably wouldn't care.
Exactly.
But normally our shows will still go up on Wednesdays, except for this one.
Unless you pay $1 a month and get it on Patreon, you'll get them on Tuesday.
Good plug.
Except for the live shows, obviously.
Cruiserweight.
All right, continue with the match.
Continue with the match. So he misses the senton and gets back in the ring. Triple H is just working over Jeff's back a lot after that. He hits a facebuster for a near fall. Triple H gets him in my favorite spot in the world, an abdominal stretch. I don't really hate him as much as I'm leading on. It's an interesting rest hold. It's better than a rear chin lock. It has that going for it. So Triple H has got him in the stretch, which is, again, selling the back. He grabs the rope for extra leverage right in front of the ref.
It takes the ref like 5 seconds to notice.
Like way too long to notice what's happening.
Right in front of Slim Johnson.
So he does it like so the ref's like right in front, and then Triple H kind of reaches his arm back, and the ref has to walk all the way around to like where his arm's extended to notice what's happening.
When it's
then-
clearly in his field of vision.
And then they get out of the abdominal stretch, and it seems like they go right to a sleeper hold.
Yeah, they hit another long sleeper hold spot after that. Hardy does manage to hit a spin kick for a near fall. Triple H gets sent back outside. This time Jeff Hardy goes over the top rope to Triple H. He hits him this time. Triple H, they get back in the ring. Triple H hits a big lariat, then a face buster for a near fall. Then he hits the spine buster. Then he goes for the pedigree, which gets countered into a slingshot, into a whisper in the wind for a near fall. He misses the swanton bomb, gets back up. Triple H goes for the pedigree. It gets countered into a twist of fate. Hardy hits the swanton bomb. We think there's a new champion at this point, right? Goes for the pinfall. He gets to 2. Triple H turns it into a roll up for the win and retains the title. I didn't have a problem with the finish. I thought it was good veteran work by Triple H. He still sold the swanton. Obviously, it's not. I'd rather Jeff lose clean if he's gonna lose. But I think that kind of like plays into a strategy. He still sold the swanton after the match. Like he didn't pop right back up and like, yay, I win. But he did sell it after. I thought it was an interesting finish. I didn't necessarily have a huge problem with it like I think Luke did.
I'm pissed.
Overall, I thought it was a pretty okay match. It had some really nice spots. Jeff, it's nice to see Jeff like more mobile than he is now in a match. And I thought he made Triple H look pretty decent. I'm going to give it 3 stars. And Kyle, what did you think of the finish?
Okay, so I also gave it 3 stars. I thought it was great at times. I thought it was a little slow at times. I didn't like the back-to-back rest holds for sure. And I didn't particularly like the ending.
It sucked.
I think I would have liked it more if Triple H just pulled him up and hit a pedigree or something. But, I mean, it was just, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of lame.
Fair enough. And Luke, go ahead. The floor is yours, my friend.
In my words, pardon my French, this was total horse cockery. Total horse cockery. No. Okay, so he goes for a swanton bomb. He misses it. No sells the miss on the swanton bomb, which usually if you have a top rope finisher that you miss, you're selling it for a while. No, he pops right back up. That's not even my big gripe here. Whisper in the wind, counter twist of fate, and a freaking swanton. He does 1 signature move and 2 finishers, and he didn't even get a 2 count, bro. He got a 1.5. It was a bam, and then by the halfway down, he's already rolling him up. You mean to tell me he put 2 freaking finishers on the guy, and Triple H in classic fashion, let me just, even though I gave you a little chance, let me just grab this shovel and just...
The golden shovel came out.
Yeah, dude, I've seen that so many times in Triple H matches, it makes me sick. We saw it on the Booker T match where there was a freaking 15 count. I'm sorry, I'm using it again, but Triple H gets away with this garbage more than anyone else. And also, I get that he's a traditional wrestler, but too many rest holds in every single match. I did give it 3 stars. It was good, but
I like how you just buried the match. And you're like, I did give it 3 stars.
It was a really good match.
It is a good match, but God, that finish
And
sucked.
then after the match, Triple H is walking backstage, and Arn Anderson shows up. They shake hands. Uncle Arn says congratulations. And then Vladimir Kozlov shows up, speaks a lot of Russian, and says congratulations as they get face-to-face.
The crowd audibly sighed when they saw Vlad.
They were so stoked for Arn Anderson. And it's like, so you go to a cousin, you have like that super cool uncle that has that really annoying son. And you're like, you see the nephew, and you're like, your uncle, and you're like, yes. And then that nephew, or that cousin walks in, and you're like, oh, you're here too.
No,
Yeah.
the drug addict one, shit.
I'm guessing this.
Here.
I'm guessing this led to a Vlad Triple H feud after that. Which, no, thank you. By the way, I'm just gonna throw that out there.
I'm sure that was like a No Way Out headliner or some crap.
God, I loved Kozlov.
Did you really?
Yeah, dude.
He did nothing for
No.
me.
He did that headbutt to the chest, and that cracked me up. So I kind of liked him in the wrong reasons because I thought he was funny.
Yeah.
And then he was in a tag team with Santino for a while, and they were just a comedy tag team that always cracked me up.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I did like Uncle Arn Anderson, like in a plain white tee with like some Carhartts
And a flip phone.
It might have been a pager. I don't even know if it was a flip
it was something
phone.
on his belt.
It was a flip phone.
And it looks like he definitely was wearing New Balances. There's no way he wasn't, and he just got done mowing the lawn.
I wish Arn Anderson was my grandpa.
Shout out to my cousin Alex. There is nothing wrong with flip phones, my man.
Love you.
Does he have one?
Yes.
Hey man, you do it. You do you. You know.
But I do put Vladimir Kozlov and Heidenreich like right there in the
Oh,
same
yeah.
same
Oh,
level.
yeah.
Oh,
of just,
Kozlov was way better than Heidenreich.
Dude, they were just both Russian ridiculousness.
Heidenreich like raped Michael Cole. Do you remember that?
It happens.
Yikes.
After that match,
Okay.
we get a video package to hype up the main event, and which is of course this was a hot feud and it was a good video package, and of course the main event
A
is
rehash.
Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho. You may remember their match from WrestleMania 19. This match has much higher stakes. This is for the World Championship on in a ladder match.
And there's also some beef because Chris Jericho punched the shit out of Y2J
Right in the
HBK's
face.
wife.
And broke her nose. Shoot, like legit.
Yeah, he slipped and actually punched her, but
Save us, Y2J.
love him.
I loved, this was like the first iteration of short hair Jericho when he like came back and he was super quiet and he was just cocky and he was just a dick, and I loved it.
One thing I got to ask about Jericho before we get in this match is why does he not get more love for being a top superstar of all time?
You know, I think
Is it he doesn't have the name value of Hulk, Stone Cold, and like The Rock and John Cena and that stuff?
I think
or-
I think that the big issue with Jericho was that he was in an era where there were so many other hugely
Saturated.
talented guys. Not to say that he's not, and not to say that he doesn't deserve to be in that conversation. I could make a case for Jericho being on a WWE Mount Rushmore.
Oh, yeah.
I might not put him there, but I could make that case. I just think it was embarrassment of riches for WWE at the time, and
I
to
mean,
think that he's still wrestling now at such a high level blows my mind. I think he's definitely in that conversation, and he's put his neck out for the company for so many years, and
Oh yeah, and
he's great.
Go ahead.
he's just put over a lot of great guys. He's had great matches with guys that usually don't have great matches. Like he has just always been a rock solid guy you can always turn to do something big.
So now I completely agree with you, okay? But let me put it to you this way. When you think of Shawn Michaels, you think of WrestleMania 12. There's like multiple huge, like groundbreaking wrestling moments. When you think of Stone Cold Steve Austin, you think of, WrestleMania 13, you think of 17, 19. When you think of The Rock, you think of a lot of those similar matches. What is Jericho's defining match that changed wrestling?
It was beating The Rock and Stone Cold in the same
Yeah,
night to win
I
the
was gonna say,
Undisputed
are you
Championship.
serious?
Undisputed Championship? Okay.
Yeah.
and then he had great matches at every pay-per-view he ever worked, pretty much.
Right.
But I do know where you're coming from.
Right.
I do know where you're coming from. He doesn't like when you see like the WWE classic
video
moment
packages,
highlight reels.
yep.
He's usually not included on those. But I mean, maybe he should be. This
He
match,
should be.
Yeah, no, he absolutely should be.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this right off the top. This was the match of the night.
Duh.
This is probably the match of that year.
This was a really good match. If you like men getting hit with ladders, this is the match. This was the match for you. Almost every spot in this match was someone getting hit with a ladder, and I am not exaggerating about that. Almost every spot in this match was a man getting hit with a ladder.
Well, in WrestleMania 19, we saw a grudge match that was just like both of them in the prime technical wrestling. Like it was just a beautiful show of wrestling. This was a brawl. This was a grudge match.
This was
rehash.
this was a hard hitting match. I can't believe Shawn Michaels was taking some of the bumps he was taking in this match at this stage in his career. He was putting his neck out there.
I don't know
big
how he
time.
didn't get hard weighed.
Yeah, I don't know how
Jericho sure did.
Yeah, so there was a spot early on in the match where it was the classic. What do you guys say? He got Joey Mercury.
Joey Mercury.
Where the ladder's teetering on the middle rope, and Shawn Michaels catapulted the ladder into Jericho's face.
His tooth came out.
His tooth it broke, and so he was bleeding from the mouth for the rest of this match. And props to Jericho because he like made the most out of it. Where you could tell he was like he'd touch his mouth and then touch his face. So by the end of the match, like he had blood all over his face, and that was like right early on in the match. I mean, I'll just go through some of these spots. This was a spot fest. This was the definition of a spot fest. There was some story stuff, obviously, towards the end of the match, but most of this was just spot after spot after spot after spot. In a good way. This was a super
best
fun
way.
match.
Well, normally I'm not a spot junkie like that, but this one got me.
I am.
I love this one.
Yeah. Yeah. So so we had the Joey Mercury angle where Jericho got whipped in the face with the ladder. Another one I really liked was there's a moment in the match, and this one just stuck with me when Shawn was put on the ladder, which was open, laying horizontally on the ground. Jericho put Shawn on the ladder and just slammed the ladder shut onto Shawn.
On his face.
Right on his face,
bro.
It looked great. I don't know how you sell that. Like, I don't know how you do that safely, but it looked phenomenal. And that was probably my favorite. I mean, there's so many good ladder bumps in this match, though. There's a moment when Shawn had the ladder and he hit Jericho with it and then just threw it onto Jericho on the outside of the ring, which Jericho also did to Shawn earlier in the match. These two guys were just beating the holy living hell out of each other with these ladders.
There was one spot I liked, and they were in the corner.
Yep.
And they did something to go into the corner, and Shawn's like trying to get up, and Jericho kicks the ladder, which is on the second rope, and it spins around and clocks Shawn right in the face.
While Jericho's on the ground.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We didn't bring this one up. This was probably my favorite spot, and it like set the tone. So Shawn Michaels is on the apron on the outside, and Jericho goes like he's going for a lion salt, like he jumps off the middle rope, and then he clears the top rope from that springboard and shoulder tackles the shit out of him.
That was early on in the match.
Yeah,
too.
and they both fall to the concrete floor, the mat.
Yeah.
On the outside of the ring, but that was just
a
crazy display of athleticism.
Well, that was a really good kind of sequence because right after that, Jericho Irish whipped Shawn, who then climbed the ladder that was on the ramp and then hit a crossbody onto Jericho. And that's when he put right after that was when he put the ladder and the ropes and then did the Joey Mercury spot to him. Yep. That whole sequence was really well done.
Just some holy shit moments.
Yeah, there was a moment too when Jericho got put in like the tree of woe, but his knee was stuck in the ladder, and then Shawn slammed him down, and that was when the knee angle kind of started with Jericho, who went outside and sold his knee forever. And then Shawn was able to climb the ladder and go for the belt, and you think he's going to get it. Jericho gets in at the last second, and they start fighting over the belt, and then I think Jericho tips the ladder over at that point, which he did 3 or 4 times throughout the match.
Sure.
There really wasn't much of guys going for the belt until the last 5 to 10 minutes of the match, where it was just hot and heavy. So both men are on the ladder taking ladder blows. At this point, you think Shawn's going to get it because Y2J gets hung up again in the ladder, and his knee's stuck in the ladder, and he's trying to get up, and then somebody comes in. Who was this?
Lance Cade.
I had it written down, but I couldn't find it.
Rest in peace.
Really?
Yep.
Yikes. So Lance Cade, the alive version of Lance Cade.
It was kind of like the Candice Michelle, though, where it was like, who's this?
Yeah. The name recognition was there, but I couldn't put it to his face. So he comes out, and he's able to distract Shawn just long enough so Jericho can get free. Jericho,
Shawn does get a hit, a super kick.
He eats
sweet chin music.
Yeah, Cade eats the sweet chin music, which allows Shawn to get back on the ladder. They're both fighting for the belt. This is a finish you don't see very often in these title matches, where they literally had the belt undone, and Jericho was tugging on one end, and then Shawn was tugging on the other end, and they were both just like playing tug of war with the belt. And then Jericho did something that was again sound booking, where he yanked the title hard enough for Shawn to hit his head on the ladder, and then he gets the belt, falls down, wins the match. There's nothing that we can say. We can't go through these spots enough to accurately reflect how crazy this match was.
Man.
You need to watch this match.
Yeah,
it is a must watch.
There's a lot of drama, a lot of crazy spots, some pretty good storytelling. I'll give it 4.25 stars, which I believe is the highest rating I've ever given a match.
I'm giving it 4 3/4. I thought that match was almost perfect. I mean, I'm biased because I was there too, and I remember it being so amazing. But yeah, 4 3/4.
Yeah, 4.5. Fantastic. And my question here, we've seen this so much. Why does everyone, I get that they're exhausted, why does everyone, once they've grabbed the belt, fall off the damn ladder and not climb down?
Drama.
Like they just fall.
It's also worth noting that the ladder fell on Jericho too, and after he jumped off.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, this match, watch if you're gonna watch any match from this show, watch this one because this was incredible. Just a spot fest in all the right ways. They knew when to hit their high notes. They knew when to hit their low notes. Just Shawn and Chris were just bumping like madmen throughout this entire match.
I think you should watch the show from the JBL Batista match on.
Yeah. Watch it from that promo on. The match itself.
Yeah, it doesn't matter about the match, but the promo after it was fun, and then everything after that business started to pick up.
Yeah.
If it would have continued on the road it was going at, I probably would have given this pay-per-view a D. I gave it a B-. I think the last 3 matches really boosted up, and I thought Kane and Rey Mysterio was really fun too. And that promo with Sergeant Slaughter was good too. So I gave it a B- as a show as a whole.
I'm right there with you. I'm going to give it a B-. I thought those last 3 matches really saved the show. I mean, this show was not looking too good the first few matches in, but after watching after watching New Blood Rising, which still just sticks in my head, we got the really good ECW show, and then we got kind of a mixed bag with TNA where there's a lot of good stuff, but there was a lot of overbooked kind of Russo-isms throughout that show, and to just get a pure wrestling show was really nice. The good matches were enough for me to kind of lift this up to be an above average show. I'm going to give it a B-.
I had to be the bad guy here, I guess. I gave it a C+ just because of how it did kick everything off. But man, talk about finishing strong. Holy crap.
It was awesome. I loved the ending.
Yeah, I enjoyed the show a lot.
One of my favorite matches I've ever watched, to be honest.
I really enjoyed it.
I can't even imagine seeing that live.
I
dude.
know. I
oh my
can't believe
God.
it.
I don't remember a lot from being there. So, I mean, it was 2008, right?
Yeah.
So that was 10 years ago. So I was 17, and I mean, I don't remember too much from yesterday. So 10 years ago was a long time.
But you sure remember that ladder match?
I remember this ladder match just being one of the most fantastic things I've ever watched.
I can understand why some of the show would be forgettable to you, though. I mean, there was a lot of just big hoss nothing happening in it.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jericho or Shawn doesn't remember a lot of that match.
There was some, it was a really good show. Check it out. And next week we have for you again Hell in a Cell. We're very excited to bring that to you. This is our first kind of modern show that we're reviewing.
And we can't screw up the date on this one.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
We can't. This is Hell in a Cell 2018. We know this for a
Correct.
fact.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun show.
Do you guys have any predictions for the show you want to throw out real quick? I know I'm kind of putting you guys on the spot. We didn't talk about this in the pre-recording or anything.
I
but
think the match that's going to steal the show will be the Shield versus
Dolph
and McIntyre. I also think adding McFoley to the Hell in a Cell as a special ref was a really good touch because it's been however many years, 20 years?
Well, you know he's going to cut a sweet promo about it, too.
But it's
he
been
did
what,
on Monday, too.
Yeah,
did.
it's been, 20 years since that happened when he got thrown off? Wasn't it
98?
1998?
It was 20. This is the
98.
20th anniversary.
Yeah, so I think it's perfect that he's...
Yeah, it makes sense.
Which I cannot wait to cover that pay-per-view.
I think, and just to kind of spitball a few things out here, I think Roman retains somehow, which is going to be a wasted cash-in for Braun, and we can get into, obviously we'll get into all this much more in depth next week. I think Joe wins the title.
Joe.
I think Orton wins in the Hell in a Cell match. I think
We're going to get a sweet Hardy bump, though.
Yeah, I'm nervous, and I think you're going to see Charlotte retain the women's title, and those are all the ones I have right now off the top of my head.
I think Daniel Bryan gets his win back too. Him and
In the mixed tag.
Him and Brie get the win back
I
over
agree.
Maurice and
Yeah,
Miz.
I agree with that as well.
I guess that's our show for today. Again, patreon.com/Big Boys and Body Slams. There are some great reasons to contribute. I really am looking forward to where this is going. And I know you guys are going to want to be along for the ride. You're going to want to watch that extra show. You're going to want to get the early access. We'll read your names, not in the end of the podcast. We'll read your names in the beginning of the podcast. So really consider doing that. It would help out so much. We love every single one of you guys. Have a great night.
Oh, and buy a t-shirt.
Buy a t-shirt. That's not one of our shirts, but
It's a sweet one.
My shirt says "Don't be a prick."
buy a shirt.
so
Big Boys.
Buy a prick.
Big Boys.
Buy a shirt. Don't be a prick.
BigBoysBodySlams.storeenvy.com. Yes, Luke?
No, that link right there. Buy us a t-shirt.
Yes, please. And Patreon. Patreon's the big one. Love
Yes.
you.
Love
Have a
you
good
more.
night.
Bye.